No matter if points are gained or points are lost, there will be much to discuss. For analysis regarding tonight's Winnipeg Jets game, here are Dave Manouk, Ezra Ginsburg, and your host, Drew Mandel. The Illegal Curve post-game show starts now.
And for the first time since the year 2015, the Winnipeg Jets are atop the standings in the NHL with the most points, 54 points in 38 games played, by virtue of tonight's 3-1 victory over the Anaheim Ducks.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom to you too, Mr. Ginsburg. Shabbat Shalom to you. Thank you for playing hurt, a little under the weather. Tougher than Dave Manouk you are, as you're here. Dave also under the weather. He's not here. So remember where your bread is buttered, kiddos. It's with Mr. Ginsburg playing hurt.
Everybody's sick. Doesn't it seem like that right now? It seems like everybody, if people weren't sick prior to the holiday break, it seems like everybody has these lingering colds. But hey, I can't miss a post-game show when the Winnipeg Jets are first overall in the NHL. Like you said, Drew, first time since 2015, the first year the Jets 2.0 made the playoffs, right?
Yeah, exactly right. It's
Also,
we'll
it's tripping me out that I'm on the left side. Can we switch that, please?
I don't know why that is. I mean, maybe if I go like that. No, I don't know why you're on the left and I'm on the right. It's tripping me out a little bit
you're
too.
the left winger, so you should be on the left side. Drew.
Yeah, I really not sure what's happening. Things. The Jets are in first. Ezzy's on the left. I'm on the right. Up is down. Down is up. Blue is green. Green is blue. Whatever else. That's too close. Nobody needs to see us that close. That up close and personal. Nonetheless, we will say, stop fiddling with the damn camera there, Ginsburg. We will say good evening, Winnipeg. Good evening, Manitoba. And for all those joining us live tonight on our YouTube channel and all of our social media platforms, we say good evening, universe, and welcome to the Illegal Curve post-game show with Ezra Ginsburg. Pardon me. I'm your host, Drew Mandel. What's that?
Without Dave Manouk.
Without Dave Manouk, yeah. I was good.
I mean, if I'm feeling like this, I can only imagine, Drew, what Dave is feeling like, because I took like a 3.5-hour nap this afternoon, and I thought that was going to help. It did not help at all. But you know what is going to help? The Jets being in first place and coming up with a big win in the second game of a back-to-back. What about the Jets being 4-0 in the second games of back-to-back?
It's, I mean, you begin to run out of superlatives to describe what we're seeing from this Winnipeg Jets team. This is again a game against the Anaheim Ducks, and look, we all know where the Ducks are in the standings. There's no question. We're not pretending that the Ducks are a superpower or anything like that. But the second half of a back-to-back for the Jets, it's never easy to win on the second half of back-to-back, unless apparently you're the Jets this year. It was just, again, they give up the opening goal, which they've now done for the fourth straight game. So you don't necessarily love that, but you have to love the response. Exactly. And you have to love the stick-to-itiveness of the team. I mean, I don't think that you can say enough about how good Laurent Brossoit was tonight.
It was very good.
He was just so in control of himself and his game.
How many rebounds did he give up tonight, Drew? Like none?
I mean, certainly none.
Like, what did this Ducks end up with? 38 shots, something like that? 37 shots, 38 shots. I think 6 of them were high danger, right? So that shows you a lot of those shots were from the point. And yeah, you're right. I mean, this Ducks team, look, Mason McTavish is a 3rd overall pick. He's a great player. Trevor Zegras is a great player. Frank Vetrano, 18 goals on the season. He's a good player. Pavel Mintyukov, 10th overall pick in the Rucker McGroarty draft, the 2022 draft, right? So they've got some good young talent. And John Gibson was good early on in this game, and you're not going to fault him, I don't think, on any of the Jets' goals, but they just don't have the depth to compete with the Jets. I thought the Ducks looked like a slow team. It's almost like the Ducks looked like they were in the second game of a back-to-back.
Well, there's more. Having watched the Ducks and the Sharks in back-to-back nights, and by the way, I don't recommend that to anybody who who wants to watch excellent hockey, because neither of those two teams are going to do so. I would say that it's more enjoyable to watch the Ducks than it is the Sharks, and at least that the Ducks have some sort of structure to their game a little bit. They seem like they have a thought process behind their game, whereas San Jose, it's just all chaos all the time, which admittedly can be entertaining. But the Ducks do have some talent, to your point there, Ezzy. They don't know that they are where they are in the standings because they don't have enough of that talent. But you go up and down their roster and you say, okay, I know who that guy is. I know who that guy is. Yeah, that guy. Okay, I remember when he was drafted. Okay, that guy was, had a pretty good pedigree. As opposed to last night with the Sharks, you're like, I don't know who half these guys are. You're just making up players and you're putting them into the lineup.
A guy like Alex Killorn, for example, he's a perfect guy for this Ducks team. The Ducks organization knew they weren't going to be very good.
Right.
So a guy like Killorn is good to be that kind of veteran.
He's a veteran
presence.
mentor. Yeah,
exactly. I mean, nobody was expecting Killorn to come here and bring, the Ducks a Stanley Cup, right? So he's been good. Guys like Adam Henrique. Look, the Ducks are going to be big time sellers, or at the very least, they're going to be sellers prior to the trade deadline because they're nowhere close to a playoff spot. They're not making the playoffs this year. So yeah, look, I mean, I don't think a lot of Ducks fans were that happy with, that pain to go to watch that team tonight on a Friday night. They've only won 6 games at home all year long. So again, considering it's a second game of a back-to-back, the Jets are without Kyle Connor, which obviously seems to not have phased them at all because they've got points in 11 straight games. But look at, I mean, we got to talk about, Nate Schmidt. We'll get into that in the Betway game recap. But I mean, they just continue to get goals from a variety of sources. It's never, it's not just one line. They're getting goals from either the fourth line or the third line or from Neil Pionk or from Nate Schmidt or from whoever. It's just impressive. And you're right. I mean, I think most people thought the Jets were going to win this game, but they've lost some games recently to some pretty bad teams, including the Sharks, including the Hawks. They should have beat the Hawks. Let's be honest.
Right, they had 7
they should have beat the Sharks too, but exactly. But so this wasn't necessarily an easy win, but they got it done. And at the end of the day, that's all that matters is the 2 points.
And what impressed me the most about this game from the Winnipeg Jets perspective, Ezzy, is that they got better in that third period. And I didn't know if that, I was thinking to myself after the 40 minutes where, for a lot of that second period, I thought Anaheim maybe had some zone time and had some pressure and everything else. Yeah, the Jets tied it up in the second, and we'll get into that when we get into the game recap. But I'm thinking to myself, how are the Jets going to come out in that third period? How's this third period going to look for the Jets where they're now, this is the third period of the back-to-back, second game of the back-to-back. It's 5 games in 7 nights. So it's not like it's just been, a short sort of, back-to-back, and then they've had some time off before that. They're in the midst of really this incredible grind right now where they play 5 and 7, and they'll play 6 and 8 after the Sunday's game in Arizona. And my thinking to myself as the third period gets underway is, how are the Jets going to respond in that third period? Are they going to be able to sort of find that extra level, that additional gear in which to, somehow, scratch and claw your way to a victory in tonight's game? And then they came out the way they did, and they just were, so, simple with how they won that third period. Simple not being a derogatory term in this instance, simple as in effective.
They were composed. I think that's kind of what you're saying, right? They were composed, just like you always are as the host, Drew. I'm not as composed as a analyst or co-host or whatever title we're giving me these days, but yeah, I mean, they kind of made it look easy, and they've done that to teams all year long because of how good they are in their structure, right? Like it's almost getting annoying at this point, to talk about how good the Jets are defensively, but I mean, it's really incredible, right? Like they're on the cusp of, setting a modern day record.
Well,
for
they're
games
now
in a row.
second. Now it's second all time in the modern record. They were tied with St. Louis entering tonight's game. And obviously they only give up the 1 goal because they decided, who needs to give up 2 or 3 goals? We're just going to give up 1 goal from now on. So they're now only trailing the Minnesota Wild for that record of most consecutive games without giving up more than 3 goals. But that third period, it was just, they just went about their business. They said, you know what, we're not, there's cares that it's the second half of back-to-back, who cares that it's 5 and 7. This team, when there's an excuse and the excuse is within arm's reach, they refuse to grab that excuse. And that to me is a sign of just a a mature team that's not just satisfied with being there. That they keep fighting for more, and they keep fighting for more recognition and more accolades, because these guys know what they've been doing, and they know what people are saying about them, and they know that they're the talk of the NHL. Sometimes not so necessarily for what they've been doing in terms of wins, as opposed to the other shenanigans that we will probably talk more about on tomorrow's Illegal Curve Hockey Show. That is, of course, the hullabaloo regarding Hartman. That's what I'm now calling it, the hullabaloo regarding Hartman. But
I think I'm actually more confused now, Drew, after today's Michael Russo article.
We'll talk about it tomorrow.
I don't believe anything that Hartman said in that article.
Of course not. But I mean, he's allowed to lie. That's fine. It's and we can talk about again tomorrow, Saturday morning, the Illegal Curve Hockey Show.
Let's focus on the big win tonight, Drew.
That's right. 9 hours and 10 minutes from now is going to be the IC Hockey Show on Saturday morning, and we'll talk about more tons on the Jets.
We'll get Hammer going on it.
Hartman, Jeff Hamilton's going to join us. Frankie Corrado's going to join us. He did the in-between period analysis on tonight's game between the Jets and the Ducks. So this is all very timely stuff for tomorrow morning. But what we're saying is just, they are just not satisfied with getting enough, some points and not all the points. They just seem to be selfish in the best sense of the word. The game is there for the taking. We're going to take it. And that's what they did in that third period. They are a better team than Anaheim. There's no question about it. But if their details aren't right to start that third, and if Laurent Brossoit isn't as good as he was, and if the defenders in front of him, including the forwards, aren't as committed to the defensive side of the game first and foremost, and they're clearing away any sort of second chance opportunities, then the Jets might lose this game. But instead, everybody is still dialed in to the exact same level that they need to be. And that's what happens is they get the 2 points. They get the victory. They get to be first place in the NHL. And you damn well know that they would downplay that. They would, publicly. But they know where they stand in the overall standings, and they knew that with a win tonight, it would put them atop the NHL. And now they all get to celebrate with their dads or their uncles or their brothers or their mentors, whomever is on the trip with them.
Brossoit had grandpa here.
Say that again?
Laurent Brossoit had his grandpa at the game.
That's terrific. I didn't know that. That's fantastic. I'm thrilled to hear that. But now all of them get to celebrate as the first place team in the NHL. They get tomorrow off. They're golfing or whatever they're doing in Arizona as a group. But it matters to them that they can do that all together as one big unit with their significant familial loved ones with them. It matters, and you saw that in my mind in that third period there, Mr. Ginsburg.
Yeah, first of all, love Ryan T is the mad line. People are talking. It's starting to grow a little bit here. Axel Jonsson-Fjällby had a really good chance in the third period.
Yeah,
John Gibson had a good save. Morgan Barron was good again. Dom Toninato. We've got the comment up from Lee's like, I don't know. Do the Jets need a defenseman? I mean, Dylan Samberg and Nate Schmidt right now. If the Jets are the first place team in the league, then Dylan Samberg and Nate Schmidt, just by logical extension to me, are the best third pair in the NHL, and the numbers back it up, right? And so we're going to talk about the Nate Schmidt goal because I think there might be a Seagram shot involved, Drew. I don't think I don't think anybody's going to be surprised by that. That was a beauty.
As it happened when Axel Jonsson-Fjällby scored his first of the season, and it had been his first in forever, and Brendan Dillon had scored, and it had been his first in forever. When you get your first goal of the year, and it's your first goal in 45 games, as it is for Nate Schmidt, the odds are very good that it's going to be the Seagram shot of the game, especially when you, on top of that, make it the game-winning goal. So,
absolutely.
There's a little bit of foreshadowing if you want. You might hear that goal and the bumper be played simultaneously.
Yeah, and I agree. Like, reading the chat, I mean, a lot of people are talking about Nikolai Ehlers. This might be the best hockey he's ever played. And I know some people, we're talking about, Ehlers in the All-Star game. I mean, sign me up for that. I think he deserves to be in the All-Star game if he gets voted in. I mean, just the way he's playing, just overall, like defensively, he's playing just as well defensively as he is offensively, right? So, I mean, look, Scheifele, Ehlers and Velarde. And I agree with you, Drew. I mean, like, I made a note of the shot. The Jets came out and they had an 8-2 shot advantage. And then, the Ducks had a pushback late in the first period. But, for the majority of the game, the Ehlers, Scheifele, Velarde line could just do whatever they wanted in the Duck zone. Like, I just thought that line was so dominant. And that's why it was obviously, the decision was made to reunite that line after having Vlad Nemestikov flip-flop with Scheifele there. But Ehlers has just been
73% possession
there you go.
What that line had in tonight's
game. And the thing is, that's no different than what it's been since they were put together, right? Like that line at 5-on-5 has been really good. So, I mean, just really impressive. Like we always talk about, how well the Jets are playing defensively, but, I think it bears mentioning again how it just seems like a different player steps up every single night. And that's the sign of a good team. And that's, when things aren't necessarily going your way in terms of scoring, like it has been the last couple of games. Like you mentioned, the Jets were down against San Jose. They got down against Anaheim, but they didn't change their game at all. And, you remember those hits there were a couple, the Ducks, as I mentioned, they had a bit of a pushback in the first period. You remember McGinn hit Pionk with a nice hit. Yeah. And then I think it was Gru.
No, McGinn hit. It was DeMello. He hit DeMello.
Sorry, and then Pionk got hit, I thought, by Gru. I made a note of it. But there were a couple big hits by the Ducks. So, the Ducks were showing something, right? Like they were showing that they were in this game. Not just that they were up 1-0, but they were engaged physically. And, the Jets just kind of stuck with their game plan, on the backs of really good goaltending by Laurent Brossoit. He didn't have to steal the game or anything like that, but he was just really solid. He made a couple good saves on Trevor Zegras. He was really good on that power play in the third period. The Ducks had some scoring chances. So, I mean, just impressive to get 2 points. I mean, and again, the Jets are going to need these points. We talked about it last night, right? Like the Jets are kind of trending to be 110, 115 point team if things continue on this trajectory. So, I mean, the Stars and the Avalanche are going to be right up there. So they want every point that they can get, man.
Absolutely. I mean, and that's what I'm talking about when it comes to the selfishness. It's not like they're scratching and clawing for a playoff spot at this point in time. But when you win games, you want to continue to win those games because it feels a lot better to win hockey games than it does to lose hockey games. So when it's there for the taking, right now they're taking it. And you mentioned Laurent Brossoit, and again, 38. You said it earlier. The Ducks had 38 shots in the course of the game. And I honestly thought you were being a little tongue-in-cheek, Ezzy. At 5-on-5, they had 6 high-danger chances. So the Jets did a great job at keeping everything to the outside, keeping the middle, the dangerous area, which used to be a free parking pass for teams against the Jets, is now, and has been for most of the year, a no-go zone.
Rush in this game? I'm not joking. I don't think there was an odd man rush in this game.
Well, there was. I guess the goal, the Mason McTavish goal was an odd man rush.
Yeah, I guess that was an odd man rush.
Aside from that, for the Ducks, that was about the only one where the Jets really were caught in an odd man situation. There were not very many, which speaks to just the Jets and their commitment to defense and covering up for one another. Look, and Laurent Brossoit, I think the best description I could use for him is one that we've talked about with regard to Connor Hellebuyck very many times, and that's big and boring, because that's what Laurent Brossoit was today. He was big and boring. He made the saves. He wasn't chaotic. He wasn't, out of position. I thought the best save he probably made is when he went, let me just see. I know I marked it down here. The glove save early in the third period off of Alex Killorn, 90 seconds in, when Mason McTavish sets up Alex Killorn, and Brossoit anticipates the play, and he reads the play very well, and he goes post to post, and he makes the glove save off of Killorn. And yes, maybe on the replay,
turned the puck over on that one.
Say that again.
Pionk turned the puck over to Mason McTavish.
A little chaotic, like he usually is. But Brossoit, and maybe Killorn Shaw was going wide, and I probably have time for that argument. But
still made the save though. He was still in position.
He's in position.
Yeah, I agree with you that maybe you could make that argument, but the fact is he was really steady in net, and right. He, even though the shot volume was high, not a lot of there weren't, like we talked about, there weren't a lot of breakaways. There weren't a lot of high danger chances. I mean, you expect that, right? In terms of when a team is down in the third period, they had a push. And when the Ducks had their empty net and they were on the power play, the Jets again stayed in their structure, and the Ducks had some shots, but at no point did you really they weren't high danger chances. So yes, Brossoit continues to be excellent, and we expected that. I mean, Laurent Brossoit is an upgrade over David Rittich. I don't even think that's a debate. So, earlier in the season, Brossoit maybe had a few shaky starts, but his last 5 or 6 starts have been excellent.
Yeah, and that's exactly what and you could just feel, look, the confidence just permeates out of that dressing room for all the players on the ice right now, and it really is a bit of a marvel to watch when things are going downhill. Sorry, not downhill in the negative sense, but when the momentum is growing and it's rolling downhill, it's so hard to stop. And that's the same thing with confidence for these Winnipeg Jets players. They're just such a confident bunch that it seems like no team and no entity can get into their way.
Drew, sorry, I screwed up there. Can we talk about the fact that it's midnight on a Friday night? Yes. And we have 560 people watching? That's awesome.
The greatest fans in the universe are all of you who are joining us here at midnight now on Saturday morning, midnight Central Time. I know there's people watching all around the world. Roll call in the chat wherever you're watching from. Those of you within Manitoba and those of you outside. I saw somebody was watching from Vancouver, and I know that John Chan is here and he's watching from Singapore, I presume. So put the roll call. We want to know where you're watching us from. It is midnight Central Time. Drew Mindell, Ezra Ginsburg, the Illegal Curve post-game show. There you go. It's 2:00 in Singapore. That's what John's telling us. The Illegal Curve post-game show.
I think I saw Cyprus. Yeah, there we go. Cyprus.
There you go.
I don't even know where that
Cyprus is. Before.
Is that Africa?
Cyprus is, that would be North Africa. Somewhere in that sort of Middle East, North Africa.
I mean, Drew, I'm a big Cypress Hill fan.
I believe Cyprus is off the coast of Turkey, if I'm not mistaken. I don't have my geography map right down here with me. That's up in my daughter's room. But nonetheless, there you go. South Europe is what Al is saying is where Cyprus is.
You didn't even get my Cypress Hill joke. I said you're insane in the brain.
Thank you. Well, you're insane in the membrane there, Mr. Ginsburg. Anyways, love that all of you are joining us on this now Saturday morning. Reminder, the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. We'll do this again 9 a.m. tomorrow morning. So be sure to join us then as well. And then Sunday night after the Jets and the Coyotes, as the Jets wrap up this road trip, it'll be another edition of the Illegal Curve post-game show. If you haven't already done so, folks, you know what you need to do. For all of you who are regulars here and all of you who are new, you got to smash the like button and you subscribe to the YouTube channel so that you're joining us each and every time we go live here on our channel. Let's get Dubai.
We got to start just calling you Mr. International, Drew.
No, is it Mr. Worldwide? That's not taken, is it? I can be Mr. Worldwide, right? There's nobody else more famous than me with Mr. Worldwide or along those lines. We both have shaved heads, and really that's I look like Pitbull, don't I? I mean, I basically think we're spitting images for one another. Let's get into the Betway game recap. We're talking about the Jets' victory over the Anaheim Ducks.
The Betway game recap.
Big thanks to our friends at Betway for their continued support of the Illegal Curve post-game show. Betway is the most trusted voice in sports betting, both in Canada and all around the world, with a large selection of betting options in sports, as well as strong promotions and fair odds. What are you waiting for? Head on over to Betway and bet your way. Igor, welcome from Israel. Am Yisrael Chai, as I got my flag up here in the corner.
That's why I said Shabbat Shalom at the beginning of the show.
There you go. So we appreciate everyone joining us wherever you may be on this Saturday morning, Friday night, Saturday afternoon, all around the world, wherever you may be. This is the Illegal Curve post-game show. No score. Pardon me. There was scoring in the first period. It took until the 15:51 mark of the period. It was Mason McTavish getting the Ducks on the board. As we said, 4 straight games now that the Jets have given up the first goal. That's not necessarily a stat you want to continue with. You don't necessarily want that to be a regular occurrence, but c'est la vie for the Jets as they've still been able to fight back. Mason McTavish, his 11th of the year. It comes at the 15:51 mark. Assist to Alex Killorn and Frank Vetrano. And we talked about Neil Pionk a little bit earlier, as Neil Pionk's got a lot of that chaos in his game, sometimes for the good,
Not as
sometimes
much
for the
this year.
bad. Not as much this year. That's
Yeah,
true.
maybe a little bit more in previous years, but
Yeah,
he's a rover.
it
He's a
still
rover.
rears its ugly head every now and then. And I would say on this one, you sort of saw a bad Neil Pionk here. He steps up in the neutral zone to try and lay a hit on Vetrano, and he's unsuccessful. He misses on that. Then he tries a stick check, and anyways, he's now in a trailing position, and Mason McTavish is able to get through the neutral zone fairly unencumbered. He takes the pass from Alex Killorn. He goes to his backhand, and with Radko Gudas in front of the net, old friend of the Jets, or frenemy of the Jets, I would say is probably more accurate. Maybe just enemy of the Jets. But with Gudas in front, providing the screen, Mason McTavish is able to beat Laurent Brossoit with the backhand to make a 1-0 Anaheim.
Yeah, I thought you broke the goal down pretty well there. Neil Pionk gets a little bit lost as he steps up in the neutral zone. And then, as you mentioned, Radko Gudas steps up to the play. So Brendan Dillon does his job. And then now Neil Pionk is playing catch up, right?
That's
and Mason McTavish has a lot of chance, a lot of time and space, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's a backhand goal. And as we know, those are harder for goalies to read, right? It doesn't matter if you're Laurent Brossoit, John Gibson, Connor Hellebuck, whoever. And Mason McTavish I think he's up to 26 points on the season. He's almost point per game. We talked about it, 3rd overall pick. He's one of the Ducks, best young players. So yeah, I mean, the Jets, they got a little bit exposed in the defensive zone there. And, this was the part of the game where the Ducks were playing their best hockey, kind of midway through the first period to midway through the second period. So, luckily Neil Pionk makes up for it. We'll get into that goal soon. But yeah, I mean, that's something that, he'll be aware of, that maybe that wasn't the best, situation to step up in the neutral zone. But
Yeah.
Again, that was the only mistake, really. Not the only mistake. I mean, the Jets were turning the puck over a little bit, as is to be expected in the second game of a back-to-back, but it was the only mistake that they made that resulted in the puck being in the back of the net.
That's right. I mean, I don't love the read by Pionk in this instance, and I understand that the Jets want their defense to step up and be aggressive in the neutral zone and try and force turnovers there. I just didn't know that I didn't think this was the right opportunity there. I thought that the Ducks had a pretty good degree of control, in the midst of this play. I would have rather him sort of be a little more passive there, and then I don't think it turns into a dangerous opportunity. I can see the thought process though behind it. So I mean, again, it's not something that I'm going to it's not a lambastable offense. It's not a hanging
and it's a nice
offense.
play by Frank Vetrano. We talked about it. Frank
who's
Vetrano,
having a real nice
Alex
season.
Killorn, exactly, 18 goals. Killorn has provided that veteran presence for them up front in their top 6 or top 9.
And yes, Killorn is way overpaid, but again, so be it. Forget about the salary. That's a Ducks problem for some time down the road.
Well, and the thing is, you could make the argument that because the Ducks are a bad team, they maybe had to overpay a little bit. Or I agree. He's most likely overpaid. But it's a nice play by Vetrano in the neutral zone, and it's a nice little spin pass from Killorn to McTavish. We talked about it. McTavish is a bona fide sniper. He's a good player. 10 or 11 goals, right? So yeah, I mean, that Pionk, not the best play. He gets caught, he's out of position. But again, that was the only goal that the Ducks scored, and luckily, that's not something we're going to be talking about a lot because the Jets got it done as the game progressed.
Yeah, well, that's just it. So it's 1-0 for Anaheim after 20 minutes. Shots on goal after the first period, 13-10. A lot to like from Anaheim's perspective, I would say, in that first period. The Jets maybe not their best period as of late, but that's okay. You're only down 1-0, and they're not all going to be beauties. But I'll tell you what, the Jets tying goal was pretty much a beauty here. It's Nikolai Ehlers, and he was terrific tonight. He was terrific tonight on both ends of the ice. He was named the 3rd star of tonight's game by whomever selected the stars in Anaheim. He was great defensively, and this was him showing off some of the offensive skill as well. And there's just a nice cycle from the Scheifele, Velarde, and Ehlers line. And a couple games since we last saw this trio really execute like they had been when they first got together after the Connor injury. And they certainly had the Ducks on their heels here, and the Ducks really just were floundering. and Nikolai Ehlers took very good advantage of it. And it's his 13th, as I said, assist to Scheifele, assist to Neil Pionk. This comes 7:57 into the second period. And even though he's not on the scoreboard, you have to talk about Gabe Vilardi and the screen that he provided on John Gibson here, because Vilardi is a big man, and he just put his skates right atop the blue paint and hid John Gibson from view. It looked like John Gibson was the moon and Gabe Vilardi was the eclipse, because you certainly couldn't see very much of him. And no wonder Ehlers, with his skill, was able to get the puck past Gibson to make it 1-1.
Yeah, there was just so much motion in the Duck zone. Like the Jets were doing a nice job. We talked about, the other night, Neil Pionk had that nice tip goal where he went into the slot, and Pionk passes it to Ehlers. Ehlers is moving. Pionk is moving up. Scheifele gets it back to Ehlers. Pionk makes a nice play. Like there was just a lot of good skating, a lot of good movement in the Duck zone. They just had the Ducks on their heels at that point, because we talked about it. The Jets were not very good, especially to start that second period. And it wasn't their best period overall. I thought obviously, the first period was the best period for the Jets. But yeah, I mean, that was an impressive shot by Ehlers, and just, some continued nice work. That's the thing, in this game, that line, I mean, they didn't necessarily have a ton of grade A chances, but, once they got established in the offensive zone, they were basically able to do whatever they wanted against the Ducks. They were just out skating the Ducks. So loved the motion, loved the globetrottery type of stuff that we were seeing with the drop passes at the blue line, and just the skating. It's just, the Jets are just fun to watch right now. They're just stylistically, they're a very fun team to watch because of how much talent they have, and they're getting it done on the defensive side of the puck. They're not making too many plays. They're just out skating and outworking the other team, really. And on this particular goal, I mean, they made the Ducks look pretty silly.
Well, you go back and you watch the replay, and all it takes in this instance is one false step against Nikolai Ehlers, and he's just too fast. You can't catch up to him. I mean, and so I went back and I was breaking it down. It looks like the Ducks, and they also play a man-to-man style of defense. They were talking about that on the broadcast, as that's what the Ducks head coach Greg Cronin employs, is a man-to-man style in their own zone rather than a zone defense. And so when you play man-to-man and you lose your guy, and if that guy is Nikolai Ehlers and you're a half a step behind him, well, that half step becomes a full step real quick, because he's that good, he's that shifty. I mean, Mason McTavish, as the Jets are cycling, is trying to keep up with Ehlers, and he just gets he takes a wrong foot, a wrong step, and that's all the time and space that Ehlers needed. And then, like I said, with Vilardi standing in front of Gibson, I think he was being defended, if I'm not mistaken, by Radko Gudas on that play as well. And Gudas, who's also not a small man by any stretch of the imagination, couldn't move Vilardi out of the way, tells you just how good that screen was and how effective that screen was. And as a result, the Jets tie it up 1-1 after 40 minutes, which, by the way, is exactly where we were at this point in time after 40 minutes last night against with the Jets were against the San Jose Sharks. So again, you got 20 minutes now to determine a winner, where one of the two teams is fighting for the top spot in the NHL and the opposition is fighting to stay out of the NHL's basement. And that's where the Jets, are they going to be able to take advantage of a weaker opponent? Are they going to be able to, again, reaffirm themselves as one of the best teams, in the NHL? And after tonight's victory, certainly the top team in terms of points. And, that third period, I didn't know what to expect. Were the Jets going to be just out of gas, 5-7, back to back? Or would they find that other level to dig deep? And we found the answer out real quickly. I want to again we mentioned this when we were talking before, the save that Laurent Brossoit makes off of Alex Killorn 90 seconds in is a huge save in my mind in the course of this game. Because if Anaheim scores early in the third period, the Jets again are having to climb up that hill, and they're going to have to scratch and claw. Instead, Laurent Brossoit makes that save, And then not that long after, about maybe within 30 seconds of that save at the 157 mark of the third period, this is going to be our Seagram's shot of the game.
The Seagram's shot of the game.
Big thanks to our friends at Seagram's for their continued support of the Illegal Curve post-game show. If you're anything like me, maybe you've had a little shot of Fireball on this now Saturday morning. Whatever you drink, please drink it responsibly. All your favorite Seagram's products, from Fireball to Seagram's 83 to Seagram's VO, those are available at your local liquor establishment. And we always say, please drink responsibly. And a big shout out to our friends at Seagram's for their continued support of the Illegal Curve post.
I'll do a shot of water, Drew. I'm feeling like crap right now, so I'm not going to do a shot of Fireball, but I'll do a shot of water for you here.
Thank you. I appreciate that. You've done your share of Fireball shots over your day, but you keep yourself hydrated. We need you as healthy and back up to fit as a fiddle as quickly as we possibly can.
Well, we have a show in 7.5 hours, so
yeah, we do. You're absolutely 8.5 hours. You're fine. You got an extra hour there. Yeah. Okay. The sickness is affecting your math skills. Nate Schmidt, it's his first of the year, 157 mark. Assist to Dylan Samberg and Vlad Nemesnikov. It's a 3-on-2 for the Jets, and these are not necessarily, Nemesnikov, he's been fantastic, and you know that Perfetti's also out there, and so is Iafallo, but it's Nemesnikov who feeds the puck to Dylan Samberg, and Dylan Samberg is not a guy known for his offensive upside, but you love the vision he demonstrates here. It's a 3-on-2, even without Schmidt in the play. Schmidt is the trailer on the play. So it's a 3-on-2, and Schmidt jumps up and he becomes the fourth guy in to make it a 4-on-2. Samberg surveys the entire scene. He sees that Schmidt is coming in with a head of speed as the fourth man. He tees him up, and then Nate Schmidt, and you know how good this must have felt for him as he wires it past John Gibson, and the Jets have a 2-1 lead within the first 2 minutes of the third period.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if you mentioned it. I had the highlight up here, but Mason McTavish falls down at the Jets blue line, right? So that leads. You got to like the quick transition, right, from Dylan Samberg and Vlad Nemesnikov. But you're absolutely right. It's great vision by Dylan Samberg, who sees that his D partner is streaking. He's coming up into the play. He feeds Nate Schmidt with just a nice little pass on his stick, and the Ducks are backing up a little bit too much. They gave Nate Schmidt a lot of time and space, and Schmidt took it, and it was a beautiful shot, glove side, John Gibson. And you're absolutely right. I mean, we were talking about it a lot in the first month or so of the season. When Nate Schmidt found himself a healthy scratch, a lot of people were criticizing him, criticizing his salary. Obviously, I mean, there's nothing, what's Nate Schmidt going to do? Give that money back? I mean, the salary.
Give me some of it. I'll take some
exactly.
of it.
Me too. But the salary is not the issue for Nate Schmidt. It was the way he was playing, right? We had Logan Stanley in the lineup. We had Declan Chisholm play a few games. Great for Nate Schmidt to get his first goal of the year, and just great to see how well Samberg and Schmidt are playing. I really can't emphasize that enough. They are just playing really good hockey together. Schmidt was rewarded. It ends up being the game-winning goal, our Seagram's shot of the game, and just great because he's one of the most liked guys in the dressing room. So that just fired up the rest of the team. I can't say enough good. That was a huge goal. I mean, look at. As you mentioned, Drew, the Jets are comfortably in a playoff spot. They could lose 4 or 5 games in a row, and they're still going to be comfortably in a playoff spot. But they're being greedy right now, and they should be being greedy because they're trying to finish first in the Central Division. Look, again, we've got a lot of hockey left to play. We're going to be talking about this. If you can avoid playing Dallas or Colorado in the first round,
sure,
that's huge, right? That's what you're trying to avoid here. I mean, let's be honest. To all due respect to the rest of the Central, Nashville and Arizona aren't going to crack into the top 3. I just don't see it happening. Right. So, it's a huge goal for the Jets. And as you mentioned, you can downplay first place in the NHL all you want. But the Jets are first, and I think they're loving it.
It's not a guarantee about future success or anything like that. It doesn't mean that you're going to win the Stanley Cup. But what it does mean is that on January the 6th now, after the Jets have played 38 hockey games, they've accumulated the most points in the entire NHL. And that's something for the team, the organization to be proud of. And that's something for the fans to celebrate. And for an organization that maybe hasn't had a ton to celebrate over the last couple of years, where there's been a lot of noise and there's been maybe a lot of muddy water and there's been a lot of chatter about where this team is going to go. Well, right now they're at the top of the NHL, and everybody that's associated with this team or a fan of this team can celebrate that. And Nate Schmidt, you mentioned it, to his credit, he gets his first goal. His attitude, as far as we know publicly and by all accounts, his attitude never wavered, as he was maybe for a while the odd man out on the Jets blue line. And since then he's come back and he's done nothing but play some of his better hockey in the last number of years. And he's not going to be the offensive force that he once was. That ship has clearly sailed. But if him and Dylan Samberg have made this beautiful music together in their partnership, and they're helping the Winnipeg Jets win games while playing defense, while being one of the stingiest defensive duos in the entire NHL, then the Jets will gladly pay Nate Schmidt whatever his salary is right now and say thank you for doing what you're doing, and thank you to Dylan Samberg for what you're doing, and thank you for the two of you playing so well together. And to get him to get a goal, turned out to be the game-winning goal on top of that, well, that's just extra bonus, and that's chocolate sauce on the ice cream sundae.
How great is it, by the way, that Nate Schmidt's dad's nickname is Soup?
It's a good nickname. It's a good nickname.
I love that.
Yeah. Soup, I think that would be a fun family to sit around and have a drink or two with,
yes,
based on all accounts. 2-1 for the Winnipeg Jets at this point in time, and the Jets are feeling good about themselves. And John Gibson made a nice right pad save on Axel Jonsson-Fjällby with 9 minutes and 40 seconds to play. The Jets were very close to making it 3-1 at that point in time, but they do make it 3-1 on the power play. And I was thinking to myself, well, there really hadn't been a power play opportunity for the Jets in this game, and there were very few power play opportunities in general. Adam Lowry and Frank Vetrano were both called for simultaneous penalties in the first period when Lowry tripped Vetrano, and then Vetrano was called for diving, so that made it 4-on-4. So that wasn't diving. A power play. What's that?
That was 100% diving.
Oh yeah. There's no question about it.
We've been criticizing the referees a lot. I mean, that was the right call.
They got that one right. No question about it. But, for the Jets to really go into the third period against the Ducks being the most penalized team in the NHL, without getting a power play, you're wondering, are they going to get that power play? And they do, with Radko Gudas in the box for holding Mark Scheifele. It's Cole Perfetti, his 11th of the game. This at the 13:03 mark of the third period. Perfetti, his 11th assist to Vlad Nemesnikov and Nino Niederreiter. And everything about this is beautiful. And it starts with a great defensive play in the Jets zone while they were on the power play, mind you. So what looked like it could be a potential shorthanded opportunity for Alex Killorn. Vlad Nemesnikov is one of the defenders back, and he takes out Killorn, and he turns the puck over as a result. And then it's Nino Niederreiter streaking up the left-hand side of your screen to the right of John Gibson, and he gets a clean zone entry, and he drops it back to Nemesnikov, and Nemesnikov with an absolute beautiful pass to Perfetti and the one-timer. And this is a great seam pass, and it's a great shot by Perfetti that under very many circumstances also could have been our Seagram shot of the game. Instead, it's a 3-1 insurance marker for the Winnipeg Jets, Ezzy.
Yeah, Nate Schmidt was not going to be denied on the Seagram shot of the game. All due respect to Cole Perfetti, but I agree with you. Really nice goal here. And, the Jets, they waited for their power play because obviously, they didn't get a lot of power plays tonight.
Yeah. That was the only power play opportunity they had.
Exactly. So, yeah, nice pass by Nemesnikov. And it was kind of like that sweep one-timer by Cole Perfetti. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again. I love the way Perfetti does the no celebration. Like, he's so matter of fact about it. He's like, yeah, I got to go.
Did he smile? After I'm sure. I assume you saw the Jets, the players beaking him for never smiling on the ice.
Yeah, that was the New Year's resolutions.
Yeah,
a few of the Jets players were saying that Perfetti's got to smile more. You love that. I mean, you know that the guys love him. One of the younger players on the team, right? And also, I mean, I don't know if this was lost, or a lot of Jets fans would maybe let us know in the chat, but with all the talk about Perfetti or Hartman, that's what I was thinking. Like, nice for Perfetti to get, the third Jets goal, considering that all we've been talking about in Winnipeg and Minnesota the last 6 days is Perfetti and Hartman and Brendan Dillon and Kirill Kaprizov and Michael Russo and all this nonsense. So, nice goal by Perfetti, and that sealed the deal. I think everybody knew, that was it. It was time to, close the curtain after that goal. The Ducks weren't coming back.
Wow.
So, huge. Again, we talked about it after last night's game. That was a big power play goal for the Jets. That's the real only area that you could point to, at the midway mark almost at the midway mark of the season, where the Jets have been below average. It's the special teams. That's the only area.
Well, that's now 2 straight games where they've scored a power play goal and they haven't given up a shorthanded goal. So, I mean, if that's going to be the new pattern, or at the very least, close enough that, maybe one game, where it's not a huge detriment. Where
I agree with Al. We talked about the faceoffs too, but right. I think you would agree, Drew, special teams are a bigger concern than the faceoffs. The Jets can address that at the trade deadline.
Yeah, I mean, again, the faceoffs to me are a nice to have. The special teams improving is a need to have. So, that would be
this way. The Jets are first overall in the NHL, and they're one of the worst face-off teams, right? So
exactly, and their special teams have been lousy all year. So if all of a sudden their special teams are going to maybe improve to middle of the pack, then think about what that does, considering their 5-on-5 play has been stellar all season long. We know what it does. And it makes for a 3-1 Winnipeg Jets lead, and it makes ultimately for a 3-1 Winnipeg Jets victory. The Ducks push to try when Morgan Barron is in the box for holding with 3 minutes and 18 seconds to go. The Ducks go 6-on-4, but the Jets, again, they block shots left, right, and center. Laurent Brossoit is excellent. And then when the Jets have an opportunity, they clear it out. And Anaheim, the penalty gets killed off with no damage done. And even when it was now 6-on-5, Anaheim isn't able to do anything of any significance. And the Jets leave California with 2 wins in 2 nights, heading to Arizona for a well-earned day off with the dads and a golf game and whatever other shenanigans they're all going to get up to. But that's going to be a celebratory plane ride tonight as they head to Arizona. And then, of course, they're going to be playing the Coyotes on Sunday at a 6:00 puck drop here in Winnipeg, which will make the post-game show right around
a normal start
8:30.
Time, Drew. A normal start time.
Exactly.
Yay.
Who needs sleep? We're normally
get to go to bed by 11 o'clock. We
do it all for you folks because you keep showing up, and we'll keep showing up as a result. The Jets were victorious tonight, 3-1 over the Anaheim Ducks. Move into first overall in the NHL in terms of the total number of points they've accumulated, that being 54. The New York Rangers are right behind them with 53 in 1 fewer game played, and the Avalanche also 53 with 1 more game played than the Jets. So it's fun to watch, but the next action will be on Sunday as the Jets look to keep everything rolling. When we come back on the Illegal Curve post-game show, we're going to do the Tough Duck hardest hitting comment. We'll tee up tomorrow morning's, or I guess this morning's, 8.5 hours from now. We'll tee up this morning's Illegal Curve hockey show. 2 hours of Jets talk coming your way back here on our YouTube channel. If there's anything relevant coming out of the Jets dressing room, we'll bring that to you as well. I haven't seen much, but whatever it is, don't go anywhere. The Illegal Curve post-game show with Drew Mindell, or with Ezra Ginsburg, and yours truly, your host, Drew Mindell, rolls on this now Saturday morning.
Your coworkers love you because you always make them laugh. You're the life of the party with stories that have them rolling on the floor. Or maybe you're just the quiet one in the corner with the one-liners that just slay. Do you have what it takes to become Winnipeg's funniest person with a day job? Try your luck. Hit the stage at Rumors Comedy Club, and you could be walking away with $1,000 cash. Winnipeg's funniest person with a day job, presented by Rumors. For all the details, head to rumorscomedyclub.com.
So you're a pizza person, you married a wing person, but somehow your kids are salad people. You can't pick your fam, but you can pick your BP meal deal, starting from $18.99 for takeout or delivery at bostonpizza.com.
The game can change just like that. Accidents happen when you aren't protected. So now what? Getting to your injury quickly can make all the difference. Help prevent them from being game changers with Linden Market Dental Center. Bonding, crowns, bridges, and dental implants. State-of-the-art treatments are available to help you get back in the game. To learn more, visit lindenmarketdentalcenter.com. Creating smiles for life.
Whoa, Ezzy, everything okay? You look stressed.
Of course I'm stressed. We're moving, the house is upside down, the kids failed miserably at packing the fine china, and my life is in chaos. Chaos!
Yes, that does sound like a problem.
What am I going to do?
Ezzy, relax. Rolly's Transfer Moving and Storage is the answer. With 60 years of experience in moving Manitobans and a track record of exemplary customer service, one call to Rolly's and your stress is gone. No job is too big or too small. Just visit Rollies.com and they will take it from there.
Thanks, Dave, and thank you, Rolly's Transfer Moving and Storage, online at Rollies.com.
Boston Pizza harnessed Fanalytics to test if the game is better at home or at Boston Pizza. The results are irrefutable. Catch the game at Boston Pizza, powered by Fanalytics.
For 3 generations and over 80 years, Tough Duck has been making apparel that works and plays as hard as the people who wear it. From jackets to work boots and everything in between, Tough Duck's clothing can handle the harshest environments, even the illegal curve hockey show. Work to live, live to play. Visit toughduck.com. Shortly after 12:30 on Saturday morning, it is the Illegal Curve post-game show. You're still on the left side of the screen, and I'm still on the right side, which is still off-putting to me, but nonetheless, we'll continue soldiering on through that inconvenience. It is off-putting. You know,
no, you should be off-putting. Pudding. That's from Between Two Ferns. Jennifer Lawrence and Zach Galifianakis. You haven't seen that one?
I haven't seen that one. That is, you're going deep into the recesses of your brain there, my friend.
Galifianakis says that's off-putting or something, and Jennifer Lawrence says you should be off-putting.
It's a good line. I get it. It's funny. I just didn't know that. I did not know the reference. I don't think I saw I've seen that Between Two Ferns or if I did, I
from years ago. It's probably from like 10 years ago.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't think that I don't know when the last time they made a new Between Two Ferns was. So it probably has been certainly a long time. That's funny though. I appreciate that. I'm not a big pudding guy myself. I did have a cookie though earlier. I'll admit nice. I did have a cookie.
Chocolate chip.
The Laura and the kids had made them, and they were in the freezer, and they were sort of like they had some sprinkles, and nice. I think they maybe even had some sort of candy cane in it. It was sort of like a bit of a Christmas mashup of a cookie, but beggars, choosers, and I don't look like the kind of guy who's ever turned down freezer cookies, so I was glad to take advantage.
Well, cookies are the best out of the freezer.
Yeah, well, you got to keep. I know people who don't keep their cookies in the freezer. We're going to have a bit of an intervention about.
What are people doing? Keeping them at room temperature?
No, you can't. That's no.
We're not animals here.
Yeah, I know. Unless it's like it has to be a totally fresh cookie if it's going to be in room temperature at that point in time.
My favorite are peanut butter.
Really, I'm not a peanut butter guy. I mean, I'm not a peanut butter cookie guy.
A fresh peanut butter cookie out of the oven. Ooh. Big Daddy likes that.
Yeah, Big Daddy knows his cookies, so I'm not going to try and mess with the master on this one. The Jets, as we mentioned, 3-1 victors over the Anaheim Ducks. They sweep the California road trip, or the 2 games of the California road trip. The numbers are just incredible. We've talked about them, so often that it almost becomes rote to continue to speak about them, but they just don't give up more than than 2 goals in a game. 25-9-4 overall, tops in the NHL with 54 points, 9-0-2 in their last 11, 13-1-2 in their last 16, 28 straight games, giving up 3 goals or less, the second longest streak in the NHL since 1967. All those stats courtesy of our buddy Mike McIntyre. Tomorrow morning, the Illegal Curve Hockey Show, 9 a.m. back here on our YouTube channel. When I said tomorrow morning, I meant later on this morning. You know what I meant, folks. Saturday morning, 9 a.m., the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. Jeff Hamilton of the Winnipeg Free Press is going to join us. Frankie Corrado of TSN is going to join us. Tons of Jets talk. We'll talk about Ryan Hartman's comments and our thoughts on those comments and the delusional nature of those comments. So there's plenty of things to discuss. So be sure to join us in a little less than 8.5 hours time back here on our YouTube channel. If you haven't already done so, be sure to subscribe to the channel. That way you'll get notified each and every time we go live. Ezzy, my friend, do you have a Tough Duck hardest hitting comment for us tonight?
Yeah, I do. Lots of good comments. We've still got 400.
Don't say it
Go
yet.
ahead.
I got to play the bumper.
The Tough Duck hardest hitting comment.
There you go. Now you can say it.
I got excited. Lots of good comments. We've still got over 400 people watching. We were close to 600 people watching about 15 or 20 minutes ago. So thanks everyone for all the great comments in the chat tonight. And also just thanks for watching. If you're not participating in the chat, we've talked about it. I'm sure, Drew, people tell you that they watch the show, but maybe don't participate in the chat. That's cool too. You can watch the show and not chat. But obviously, we welcome everyone to participate in the chat as long as you keep it, nice and friendly, and you don't get nasty or anything like that. Tonight we're going to give it to Brian Harder. We've got the comment.
The only people who can get nasty is me against Ezzy or me against Dave. That's it. Only the people on the screen are allowed to get nasty with one another.
We like to keep it internally within Illegal Curve. We're going to give it to Brian. Brian's often in the post-game show chats. Remember the days when the Jets played a lot of their games against the backup goalies. Now every team is putting their number one goalie against us. Obviously, John Gibson is still the Ducks' number one goalie. Even though Lucas Dostal, we got to give him credit. 55 saves. He's the future in net for Anaheim, which makes this run even more impressive. I agree with you, Brian. Connor Hellebuck obviously is having another Vezina caliber season, but Laurent Brossoit has been absolutely excellent as a backup. And now teams have to play their number one goalie against the Jets, and the Jets, who obviously are going to run with Hellebuck most of the time, but they can be sure that they're going to play just as well, and they're going to get excellent goaltending if Laurent Brossoit is in net. So Brian, send me an email, Ezra@illegalcurve.com, with your mailing info, and Tough Duck will ship a toque out to you. I should mention you could slide into my DMs at ICSEG as well. But congrats to Brian for the great comment, and everybody else who's been joining us on a late night post-game show.
Back-to-back late nights, early morning post-game shows, and it's a lot more fun to do it when all of you are here joining us, because if it's just Ezzy and I talking to nobody, then it's really kind of weird and awkward and a little depressing. But we're so glad that so many of you were able to join us instead to talk about the Winnipeg Jets 3-1 victors tonight over the Anaheim Ducks. Again, one more time, I'll remind you before we wrap up tonight, it is going to be the Illegal Curve Hockey Show, 9 a.m. tomorrow here on our YouTube channel. Subscribe now. Don't miss a minute. Jeff Hamilton's going to join us. Hammer always brings an interesting perspective and a good, solid opinion. So we'll be thrilled to talk to him. We'll be thrilled to talk to Frank Vetrano as well. Frank Corrado tomorrow. I got my Franks confused. The Vetrano was on the losing side of things. Corrado is going to be our guest tomorrow to talk about the Jets as well. So lots of fun tomorrow, and more on the hullabaloo regarding Hartman. So that is going to be tomorrow's Illegal Curve Hockey Show, coming up in about 8 hours and 20 minutes, which means it's time for Ezzy and I to go to bed. If you haven't already done so tonight, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, leave us some feedback, leave us some comments. We want to hear what you have to say about our show, and be sure to tell your friends and tell your family the best place to be after each and every Winnipeg Jets game, and again on Saturday mornings, is the Illegal Curve YouTube channel. Want to say a huge thank you to all of our sponsors. They make this all possible. Our friends at Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club, Linden Market Dental Center, Zappia Group Realty, Farmery Beer, home of Illegal Curve Lager. If you haven't already picked one up for the weekend, be sure to check it out, number 2 Donald Street. That's where you can get it, and also available on all of the delivery apps. Get your Illegal Curve beer. It tastes great and goes perfect with an Illegal Curve hockey show and an Illegal Curve post-game show. Our friends at Rolly's Transfer have been with us for years. Our friends at Seagram's, Boston Pizza, and of course at Tough Duck. Hang on. I need a little water to get through the end of this wrap up here, as my voice is going as well. And of course, Betway is the title sponsor of the Illegal Curve post-game show. Support these fine businesses because of their continued support of Illegal Curve hockey. The next post-game show is Sunday night, about 8:30 p.m. Our next broadcast is this morning at 9 a.m. in about 8 hours and 20 minutes. Be sure to join us back here. Tons of Jets talk coming your way. For Ezra Ginsburg, thanks to so many of you for joining us. I'm your host, Drew Mindell. Until this morning, in about 8 hours, we wish you good night and good luck, and thanks for watching the Illegal Curve post-game show.
Thanks for listening to this broadcast from Illegal Curve Hockey. For more great Illegal Curve content, subscribe to the Illegal Curve YouTube channel, follow at Illegal Curve on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and visit your online home for hockey in Winnipeg, illegalcurve.com.